We're joined this morning by Congressman Lloyd Smucker of the 11th Congressional District here in the state of Pennsylvania, and he recently joined members of the Republican Study Committee to travel to Texas on April 8th to meet with local and federal officials on the front lines of the southern border crisis, and we thought we'd get some first-hand looks from him this morning as he joins us here on WSBA. Good morning, Congressman. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Doing well. Always good to be with you.
Well, welcome back from your trip, and obviously we're hearing a lot about the jam up down at the border and all the things that are going on. What are you seeing firsthand there? What did you see as part of this group that went down to check out what was going on?
Well, it's a real humanitarian crisis as a direct result of the policies of this administration. Today, it is 3 weeks since Vice President Harris has been appointed to in control to be the border czar, and she has till today has made no comments, has held no news conference, has not visited the border, and it is critical that she does that she visits the border and sees firsthand the impact of these crazy policies that they've been implementing. It's critical that the president get to the border to do what we did. We visited the Del Rio section of the border. So this is central Texas in the district that is represented by Tony Gonzalez. He's a new Republican member. And by the way, his district has more border than any other district of any member of Congress. And so he, as you mentioned, invited a group of the Republican Study Committee to see firsthand what's happening. It's unbelievable. The Mexican cartels are controlling the border from their side. They have a sophisticated operation. They know exactly how to take advantage of policies that are poorly implemented, of laws that are poorly written, and they're doing just that. The chief of the border gave some statistics, and apprehensions are way up compared to last year. Just in this section of the border, 72,000 people apprehended. Year to date, that's up 316% over last year. And he said every one of those individuals who's coming across the border, many of them unaccompanied minors, by the way, but every one of them have paid the Mexican cartels roughly about $5,000 per person. He estimates that the Mexican cartels are from the human trafficking alone, making about $11.5 million per week. Wow. From the people that are coming across. And then this allows them to control the flow and control where the resources of the Border Patrol folks need to be to process all the people who are coming across, to apprehend them. And then that allows the cartels to move drugs in other areas or to send criminals across themselves. And so there's untold damage being done, not only to the communities there. We met with about a half dozen sheriffs, county sheriffs, who would be the top law enforcement official in some of the counties along the border there, with mayors and with judges, and they talked about the impact on the community. They're seeing a lot of property crimes, a lot of high-speed chases as individuals with either illegal immigrants or drugs are being chased by police. Some of those have resulted in fatalities. They have apprehended sex offenders. That is up 2,000% compared to last year. 2,000%. Wow. Apprehended gang members, that's up 30%. The number of individuals died trying to cross the river is up 50% over last year. It just goes on and on. It's a travesty what we're seeing happen at the border right now.
In March, I saw the number of unaccompanied children crossing the border reached an all-time high of 18,600. And obviously, in addition to the over 170,000 encounters with illegal immigrants last month trying to cross the border unlawfully. You said about the policies of the Biden administration, and again, we're talking with Congressman Lloyd Smucker this morning, the 11th Congressional District here in Pennsylvania, right here in local York County. What specifically has he done? I mean, some would say, well, invited these people kind of tacitly, at least during the campaign, and then when they got there, basically, one of the things that we heard that was incredulous was, well, don't come in yet, we're not ready for you. What kind of things, it seemed like he was trying to down all of the Trump policies, which seemed to have some effect on controlling the border. And in the hastening of trying to get rid of the name of Donald Trump and all things associated with it, he may have gotten rid of a policy that seemed to be working. Your thoughts on that?
The Border Patrol agents, we asked them what led to this surge, and they said it is absolutely a direct result of those policies that you just described, some of the actions that the president took to overturn Trump's policies. For instance, one of them was this: when individuals come in claiming political asylum, and this is what many do, we as a country, if someone is in danger of being killed or imprisoned as a result of their political views in another country, we provide asylum.
Right.
This law has been taken advantage of, and the Mexican cartels, based on court cases that have occurred here in the United States, tell people exactly the words to say, and some of these individuals are just walking right up to Border Patrol agents. And in the past, when this occurred, then they were assigned a date during which their case would be heard, and because the system was overwhelmed, that date may be 2 or 3 years in the future, and then they were released. That's what was called the catch and release, and the President Trump had stopped that policy. And people react to the changes in the law and realize they weren't going to be successful in gaining entry. They would be returned. It was the return to Mexico policy. They would be returned there to wait for the date. But so common sense, apprehensions and crossings went way, way down. And so this is only one of the policies that has been changed, and immediately we saw the impact of that. So it's a direct result of the changes that were made. There had been agreements in place as well with Honduras and Guatemala to try to secure their borders so people don't can't get started going across Mexico. All of those agreements were stopped. Some of the first things that the Biden administration did. You're right. Unaccompanied minors, we're seeing record numbers. These are kids who are sent by themselves or may be separated from their families. Here again, taking advantage of our laws that court cases have determined we can't send minors back.
With Congressman Lloyd Smucker this morning from the 11th Congressional District, comprising part of Lancaster County and also York County, and he's right here on WSBA, and we were talking about, before we went to the break, the unaccompanied minor children being sent to the border, and where are they going from there? We just saw a story yesterday, 150 children being sent to Erie to be housed at a facility there. Remember, during the Obama administration, these kids were sent out all over the country. And again, I don't think there's any one of us who doesn't have empathy for the human plight at the border. On the other hand, we also have empathy for our country and what we can absorb and what we can do in terms of providing proper services for everyone concerned. And that, Congressman Smucker, is certainly one of the concerns we have right now. Are we having kids potentially sent into our area as well? I saw we had 150 sent to Erie yesterday. We're seeing it in other parts of the country as well. I was reading a story this morning about Houston. What are we seeing?
So let me go back to your earlier comment first. I agree with you. I think probably all of your listeners agree. We know we are a country of immigrants, but we have always ensured that we knew who was coming into the country, that they wanted to be productive members of society. We controlled the borders, and we controlled the number of people who we felt could could be integrated into the company in a given time. We just simply cannot have open borders. And we already talked about the impact of criminals coming in. The other thing I wanted to mention, coming across the border just in Del Rio, this is the section that I visited last year, people from 62 countries they have apprehended, from 62 countries. They're coming from all around the world, including countries on the terrorist watch list, and coming through there. But you're right. They are sending, they are absolutely overwhelmed in any facilities that are in place to hold these people, both minors and adults. And so they're sending them across the country. And if a minor comes and has a connection, they will try to connect them with a family member in any of the 50 states, or someone that they may know. If they don't, then they are sent to other facilities where they're held for an undetermined period of time. And those facilities can be, typically have been close to the border, but they're completely overwhelmed. So they have to find places to send people. The other thing is the adults. Most of them, the border chief in that area was telling us right now, are simply being released because they have no alternative. These processing facilities are intended to hold people for maybe a 24-hour period, and then they're referred to another location where there may be, they have to wait for a court date or whatever it may be. As I mentioned earlier, President Trump would send them back to Mexico. But now they're to go to another facility, but those facilities are completely overwhelmed. So they said right now, most of the people who they apprehend, process, and all of that are then just simply released. And it means loading people, filling buses with people and sending them to another community and just releasing them in some cases. So communities hours away from the border are being inundated with people who have no connection and they have no idea what to do with them. This is happening everywhere. It's going to continue to happen across the country.
So the burden on the communities, local communities, not only along the border, but in places like, for example, Erie, which is not close to the border at all. In fact, it's not even close to here. Where we're sending people right now, it's going to have an impact. And again, when you talk about 63 different countries represented, including some terrorists who have been on the watch list, being involved in this. I mean, that's frightening stuff, especially when you consider the one thing that the federal government is supposed to do, who is in charge of immigration, the one thing they're supposed to do is to keep our people secure. And this does not look like we're keeping our people secure at all. In fact, the president, kind of, and from my standpoint, I'll say this word, pawned this off on to Vice President Harris, who apparently may well be studying it, but she was talking about, well, maybe I'll go to Central America and see what the underlying factor is. Well, that's great, and I think there's a place for that, but that does not solve the problem of the here and now, which is the crisis at the border, which you saw firsthand, right?
This problem could be stopped right now by implementing policies that would stop this. The president can do that on his own. He reversed policies that had been in place in his first week in office.
What would you do right now, Lloyd? What would you put into place right now to stop this from your standpoint, and maybe some of the congressmen who are with you?
Yeah, so immediately re-implement the return to Mexico policy. If you're coming across, legally at this point, according to the law in place, you claim political asylum, you will be given a court date. But you can be returned to Mexico until that date comes up. And that incentivizes people not to come in the first place. That's what President Trump had done. That's what President Biden reversed. That led to this. That could immediately be, that policy could be put back in place. It would make a huge difference.
Yeah. No, it sounds like something.
And then, of course,
makes sense.
Of course,
makes some sense.
He also stopped the construction of the wall. And there are places where literally the wall stops. Of course, the wall works to at least deter people for enough time that they could be apprehended and stopped crossing. We do need a barrier. We need that wall, and he could continue that construction. But by the way, he stopped that illegally. The dollars had been appropriated, and it is not within the power of the president to stop an appropriation that is in place. And so, he could continue to build the wall, could continue to provide the resources that are needed for the Border Patrol agents to apprehend those. In the Del Rio section alone, 72,000 apprehensions I have mentioned year to date, which is far beyond the total they had last year already.
Right.
And we're only in April. But they also they were able to track, I asked the chief how many came across that they didn't apprehend. And they were able to track 28,000 additional where they saw footprints or something that they know came across, and they didn't catch them, and they do have no idea how many have come across beyond that. So 72,000 apprehended, 28,000 you have no idea who they are, that they know came, and then untold tens of thousands others who they're not even aware of at this point.
Congressman, we appreciate the update this morning. It's a sad situation right now. I hope we can get to a point where everyone's going to come together over what best to do for the security of the American people, as well as the people who are trying to come into this country and doing it the right way, hopefully. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. We look forward to talking to you again next month.
Good to be with you.